Hey everyone, I know we did the intro to graphing experiment previously and you learned a lot about graphing there, but I've been getting a lot of questions about how to do some unique things in this particular experiment, the density experiment. So I wanted to just do a quick demo and you could hopefully follow along. So first off, I definitely recommend using either Excel or OpenOffice to do this. It should work roughly the same way in either program, with maybe a slight place you click different in one place. But other than that, it should be basically the same. So I'm using Microsoft Excel. That's sort of the standard spreadsheet program. It's really excellent. And I'll go ahead and dive right in. So I'll go ahead and share screen. Um, Here we go. And I put some sort of dummy data here. And this is the data that similar to data you'll be graphing. You're going to have some volume data and mass data, and you'll be putting mass on the y-axis and volume on the x-axis. So that ultimately you'll get the rise, the y-axis, the rise will be grams over the run, the x-axis will be milliliters, grams per milliliter, the slope in grams per milliliter will be the same as your density measurement for that solution. So the lab tells you to put all of the things on the same graph, and that's not that hard. So I'll show you how to do that, and then I'll give you another option as well. So here's how it would go. You can just, generally people start by just highlighting one set of data, and you're gonna wanna enter them separately. So you highlight just one set of data, and you go to insert, and here's the first key that you insert a scatter plot. And don't do any of the connect the dots versions, just do a regular scatter plot with some dots on it. And by the way, my data is just totally made up. It doesn't mean anything. It just gives me some dots that I can plot on a graph. So, and I've made it intentionally. It's going to look a little weird here. So when we've done this right here, we have our trend, and this data is here. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that we have the right data on the right axis. So you can kind of look and see here that the data points on the y-axis were 10, 20, 30. Those were volumes, milliliters. So that's good. That's what I wanted. I wanted the volumes in milliliters on x-axis, and I wanted the masses on the y-axis. And you can see that that's where they were plotted, the value of 1 and 1.1 and 1.4, etc. All right, so if you go ahead and want to add a trend line to this, you would just click on that data point and say add trend line, and it'll go ahead and put it in. And then you get this sidebar over here where you can choose how to format that. You can choose display equation on chart, and you can choose if you want to set the intercept to 0. So it's really up to you how you want to do that, but that's ultimately what you could be doing here. And in this case, they do tell you to set the intercept to 0 and display the equation on the chart so you can see what that equation is. So I'm going to remove that for a second, and I'll do that for all the charts later just to get it out of the way. I want to put the other data on the graph as well. So you notice that's only that first set. What if I wanted to put these other ones on the graph as well? So that's relatively straightforward. You can do that two ways. You can do that here in the design tab, select data, or, which is my preferred way, right click, which I think on a Mac it's command click or something, control click or something like that to bring up the context menu. And then you say select data from there. And that works also in OpenOffice. It works basically the same in any spreadsheet program. And what you're going to do is you're going to add another series. So if you can see where I'm at right here, it'll say series and then add. And you might want to retitle your data here. So maybe that very first one, you might say edit and just say the name of that series is, my first set. Of course, you would want to probably label yours if it was plain water, or if it was 5% sucrose or 10% sucrose or whatever you were doing. Then you're going to add another one. And so my name for that is going to be my second set of data. Yours would be if it was 5% sucrose or 10% or whatever. Then you're going to select the values that go on the x-axis. So those would be x-axis values are the milliliters See how I'm doing this? If you want to select now what goes on the y-axis, you click the button to the right of that, and you just highlight the region that you want to be on the y-axis. Say okay, and now it's added the second set of data. And you can see up here on the graph that it showed up in a new color. Then you can say, add another one. I'm going to call this my third set. Then I'm going to click the X values and highlight what I want on the X axis. Click the button to go back to here. Click the button to the right of that entry line right here. And then highlight what I want to be on the Y axis. Notice it says X values, Y values. And I say, okay. Now I've got those three sets in there. You can see up here on the graph that they're there. They each have different colors. So that's good. I've got all three sets on the same graph. Now, if you want to add trend lines to each of those, you just click on that series and notice only those dots are going to be selected. Right click and say add trend line. It'll bring that up. You'll display the equation, set the intercept. Good to go. Now you'll click on the next button. Add trend line to that. Set intercept, display equation on the chart. Notice the equation is right by the line, so you can see which one goes with which line. Same thing with the last one. I click on it to make sure that series is selected. You can also notice that it's highlighting that data, so you can see which data it's talking about, just to make sure it's right. Right click, add trend line, then choose how you want that to be formatted. There you go. Then you still do need to go ahead and format this chart other ways. So you do need to go ahead and make sure that the chart in general has the axes labeled and the legend displayed. You can do that a few ways. You can say format plot area. You can bring up these different format options. You can edit it through the menus up here. One of the easiest, you can do add chart element, axis titles. That's probably one of the easiest ways, is just add chart element, and you can add a lot of things through there. Another easy way is actually there are these quick layouts. So you can hover over one and see what it'll make your graph look like. So this one, if I hover over this one, it would add axis titles and a chart title, and it would add a chart title, axis titles. So of course I have to fill those in. And it'll add the names of your series, which is great. So this is a good one. Then you could go back through and add trend lines. If you choose this one, it'll add equations of the line already with a legend that also has the linear trend lines. Of course, if you do that, you'll have to go back in and make sure and click on those trend lines and format those trend lines. So to make sure that you display the equation on the chart and set the intercept. You don't need the R² value. That's a quality measure of your graph. So that's an option for doing it. If it were me, I'd probably choose this first option, make sure the chart titles and axis titles are displayed. This for me might be, my demo graph. This axis title was mass in grams. This axis title was volume milliliters. And then I would go back and add the trend lines, because it doesn't take very long to just do that. Click the two buttons, click on the next data series, add the trend line, click the two buttons, click on the next data series, right click, add the trend line, set intercept, display equation on chart. Boom, there you go. It's all set up. Of course, you'll have a few more, but that's the way to do it. All right, now I told you I'd give you one other option. If that's not your preferred way to do it, it is acceptable if you really want to make a separate chart for each data series. I will allow that. You could go ahead and grab this next data series, insert XY scatter plot, and make a series of data plots. But then I think that'll end up being more work overall, because you'll need to find a way to like copy and paste these charts onto one sheet and display all the different charts. So or just size them so that I can see them all on Excel, and then you'll be putting axis labels and chart titles on every single one. So I think that ends up being a little bit more complicated than just doing it all on one graph like I showed you, which is why I think the lab says one graph is a little bit better. All right, I think that's all I needed to show you. So go ahead and hope it works out for you. Let me know if you have questions.